Hey, Central Illinois, this is Renee. Hey, Central Illinois, this is Renee Haraney, and today on Peoria Professional, I'm going to introduce you to my good friend, Gayle Westbrook. Gayle is the owner of a nonprofit organization, and she has been successfully running this organization called BACE for the last 18 years without any aid from the government. I think that is absolutely phenomenal. Gayle is an incredible person, and you need to hear her story and hear what she's all about, because I can assure you, you've never met anyone like Gayle. Right?
That can be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
Well, welcome, Gayle.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. First thing is BACE. Tell me what BACE is.
BACE is a not-for-profit organization, and we started 18 years ago, as you said. It is an organization that's before and after school. We're a faith-based organization, which is a Christian organization, and basically we help parents or a single parent, either way, that possibly can't afford their child to go to before or after school programs. So we scholarship those families.
Okay, great. So first of all, why did this come about? Why did you even start this?
Well, I was an employee for the Morton School District 709, and I just saw these young children going home and not being supervised. So I saw that happening and thought, wow, these children are so young to be going home by themselves. And it brought back what my life was like when I was growing up.
Oh, okay.
My mother was a single mom, and we grew up in the 60s, so a divorced parent was just unheard of, and we were chastised. We didn't have a lot of money, and that was a lot of what I saw in the Morton School District, with children going home by themselves because parents couldn't afford to take their child to any place. So God just led me into starting this program.
Mm-hmm. So the fact that it is a Christian-based group, bases. So, why did you decide to do that? Other than the fact that it's your faith, but
Right.
why did you decide to make the group that?
Well, basically, I wanted to share my faith, certainly. And when I was growing up, I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I didn't go to church. So I didn't go to church until I was 13. I really led a very lonely life as a child. And my mother did the best certainly she could do, but she was putting herself through college and doing a lot to just keep our family above water. And so I was lonely, and I didn't have a lot of hope. I saw myself, even at this age, I experimented. I smoked. My mom was a smoker. And so I tried smoking cigarettes, and I tried alcohol. I mean, this was when I was in grade school.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So it was because I was bored, and I didn't have hope. So I saw that need with children. And to be honest, I didn't want those children to go through the same stuff that I went through. And, now they have the internet, and there's pornography, and there's just so much more that these children can get involved with. And if we can just keep a certain percentage from getting involved with that, then that's what I feel like that's my mission.
Right. So 18 years, okay?
18 years.
Did you even imagine that you'd still be doing this?
Well, yes, actually I did. I mean, I'm going to be doing this till I'm 100. So
Awesome.
I'm excited. This is certainly my passion. I love children. I love families. I make a connection, with the families. We want these children to have hope. We want them to have faith in God. We want these families to make it. We want these children to make it scholastically. We work very hard to make it easier all the way around. You know, as a single parent, you got to hurry up and get that child home, do their homework. You've got laundry, you've got dinner, you've got all these things that you have to do, and we want to make it easier. So we want to at least try and help them with the homework and to help these children to be successful in school so that they can be successful in their life. That's what we want.
So it's been 13 years since I met you.
I know.
It's crazy. I asked Brett last night, I'm like, how old were you when you started going to BACE? And he's like, oh, first grade. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be 20.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting younger, I think, not older. Can't happen.
That's right. Me too. Anyway, but I want to talk about this idea because I think there's so many fascinating things we can talk about. We only have half an hour. But,
sure.
And one is the fact that you are so totally nonprofit.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
You don't even bring home a paycheck.
No, I don't.
Right. So the parents who are able, they pay.
Yes.
Okay. And they pay a reasonable amount of money, you know, certainly less than anything else I could find.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's what led us there in the first place was just what can I afford?
Yes.
You know, the beauty of your program and of you and of the teenagers that were helping you, some of which were your own kids.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, that was like the unexpected surprise, you know, but I just think it's fascinating that you've been able to do this, you know, all these years without aid, because I think most people, there's a lot of really cool nonprofits.
Yes.
You know, there's
certainly
a lot of people doing some really neat things.
Yes.
But I wonder how many of them are doing it without any grants, any funding at all, you know, or even not even paying themselves, you know. And so why did you decide to do that?
Well, I have a wonderful husband, first of all, that certainly supported me in this. I'm probably going to cry in this program. So, and he saw the passion in me. And he obviously wanted to see me accomplish a passion. He also knows me better than anybody else and knows what I went through, you know, as a child. So I was willing, as well as my husband was willing, to give up those things. We didn't want to go with state or federal funding because that would limit us. We are a Christian organization, and so you're only allowed so much time or availability to be able to speak about God, and if you're funded by the state or federal government. So for us, we just felt like it would be better to not start depending on them. Because what happens with a lot of not-for-profits, and I understand this, I worked for a couple not-for-profits when I graduated from college, but what happens is they get so dependent on the funding, and that's where salary and all the other things occur, and you become very dependent on the state and federal government, which I have my own theory with that, but we just, you know, they get dependent on it. Then when the state, which is what's happening right now, and the federal government, which is going on right now, when they can't accomplish what needs to be accomplished, like paying, then our not-for-profits are going down the hill. And we didn't want that to happen with our program. I didn't want to have to close the program, and I didn't want to have to depend on somebody else. So our faith, you know, my faith was walking away from my job, which I made pretty good money with, and going forward believing that God was going to supply all our needs, which that's his promise. And that's what I went forward with, knowing that God was going to supply the needs that we needed. And he always has. I mean, for 18 years, we're a tight budget. And I haven't got paid. There were some years that I was able to, but not $100,000 or not. I mean, it was more like 4,000, 5,000. I haven't recently, just because the need for the children to come in that are scholarshiped is growing, obviously, with the economics in our area. So we've chosen to not rely on anything. We do get donations from churches, and there are private people that donate. My mother passed away about 2 years ago, and she, was very much of a supporter for our program. So,
you mean financially as well?
Yes, yeah. And, she knows. She had a passion to see me reach out to those people that she knew that I desired to work with and to help. So,
So how do you get the money? I know, like, the parents pay some money, but what else do you do to actually get money?
Well, I speak at churches, and there are some churches, our church, Grace Fellowship, which is a small church actually, but every month they give us, close to $1,000 a month, which helps us.
Wow,
with
that's
payroll.
really nice.
Oh yeah, and that's what we go by. Really, I do have some parents that pay the full price. We do have an agreement. We have a that even the scholarship parents pay something, whether it's $1 a week. It doesn't matter, but
That's
they're responsible
important
for something
to them.
Yes, it is.
It's not about you receiving the money. It's about them having that that feeling of contribution. That they're not just getting something completely for free. I think that's psychologically really important.
I do too. And the amazing part of our parents, and a lot of people can't believe it, but the amazing part of our parents is that we have a food pantry and a clothing pantry. And I can say this happens every year, that when we give out the food or the clothing, the parents always say, somebody give this to somebody else that needs it more than I do. I mean, what a blessing that is to me. Even though, we have parents that are barely making it and have chosen to come to Morton because of the education, and they're here because they want the best for their child.
Right.
And so, therefore, they're willing to give up some other things. And we just are excited to have them, obviously. We've been fortunate and blessed that we've never had to turn a child away. So as far as scholarship, a lot of times if you go for not-for-profits, they'll have a limit. So say $100,000 is the limit that you'll do for a scholarship. And when you get to that $100,000, the scholarship money is gone.
Wow.
And we don't have that. We've never turned a child away. So, we have probably 50% of the children that are involved in our program are scholarshiped.
Okay.
So, and again, it's God's promise that he's going to take care of our program, and all the needs that we have are going to be taken care of. And they have, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a story.
Oh, please, yes.
We moved from a church environment, to a building facility that it's a roller rink actually, and no, we're not big roller skaters, and this is just God that I know. I mean, he's laughing up there going, wow, the Westbrooks are going to be involved in the roller rink. But it was a great opening. It was an area that God opened for us. And so it's a roller rink in Morton. It's a beautiful facility. We've done some work on it. But when we first purchased the building, there were definitely some things that needed to be done, one of which was the electrical. And we knew that we had to revamp it. We had had some people come in. They said it was going to cost about $10,000. This was about 11 years ago. And so my husband and I, as well as the previous owner, were praying for that God would bring somebody there, and that we would have favor. And we had just finished praying, and a man came up and knocked on the door. We had the door locked, and he came in, knocked on the door, and he said, he was an older gentleman, and he said, God told me I'm supposed to come here.
Oh.
And I said, I looked, and I just immediately started crying.
Yeah.
And I said, really, why? And he said, well, I don't know. He said, I was driving by, and I felt I needed to stop here. And he said, I'm a retired electrician.
Oh.
So it's like, yes, it was a huge answer to prayer. Obviously, he said, I will do the labor at no cost, and you just strictly buy everything that I need.
Wow.
So it cost us about $2,000. We saved $8,000. This gentleman was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just one of many miracles that have happened with BACE that we've just been shocked with. Salary was really tight for my employees, and I said, Lord, I don't have enough money for salary for this week. So I'm just going to send my angels out, and I'm going to just pray that I get some money back to be able to cover this. And a gentleman that I did not know came in and gave us a check for $10,000.
What?
And he said, I'm supposed to give this to you. I don't know who you are.
What? He didn't even know who you are?
Who I was. Knew about BACE. He'd heard about BACE. And he wrote a little note on his check and said, I'm supposed to do this. So here you go. I don't know what you need it for, but obviously you need it. So it was just, really, it's been amazing. I've been blessed to see BACE students that I've had that come back to work for me and volunteer. I've seen that come full circle. I've gone to weddings where, they've had BACE children, and they grow up, and, they've gotten married, and that's exciting. And I see them live a godly life, which is huge for me.
Right.
Because that's what we want.
Yes.
We want those kids to have that hope,
Right.
and to know that God is there for them no matter what.
So something that has really stood out to me just here recently is, it's accepting Christ as your Savior is just the beginning.
Yes.
You also have to be obedient. And when people say obedient, it's not just this laundry list of things that you're not supposed to do, or whatever.
Right.
But being obedient to those calls that people get on their heart, like the man who showed up with the check. Okay. He was being obedient,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And what you're doing is you're planting that seed and more, you're nurturing that seed too in those children, so that they will understand that it's not just about saying, okay, I've accepted Christ as my
Right.
Savior. It's not just about receiving a Bible, because I know you gave my kids a Bible each, you know. It's about living that life, and that's what you're demonstrating, you know, and by sharing these stories, you know, that is what people need to hear. You know, we need more people who are going to just be obedient in that way. Because if a huge part of the way God works in this world is through the people, right? I mean,
That's
the money
right.
doesn't just come down from the clouds,
That's right.
right? You know, someone has to be open to hearing that message and then doing what they're
Acting.
supposed to do.
That's right.
Otherwise, you know, what else is he going to do?
Well, you know, Renee, I remember when you first started at BACE, and look where you've come,
Oh, yeah.
and your walk. And I tell parents and I tell kids, I mean, I continue to pray for your boys. I continue to pray for
Now you're going to
you.
make me cry.
Good. I don't want to be the only one crying over here. But I continue to do that. And I do with all of our children and with all of the BACE parents. Because life's not easy.
No.
And it's not easy when you're doing it by yourself, which is what I saw with my mom. My mom was not a woman of faith until later on in her life, and I saw her struggle. I saw, and I can look back and see just the hollow eyes at times that I just would go in my bed and not really know why I was sad, but I knew my mom was sad, and she didn't have that hope. And I want my BACE families to have that hope. I want these children to know that they can have a hope in God. You know, I've screwed up lots. I screw up now. You know, trust me. My mouth can get me into trouble, and I know that, and I have to be careful of that. I've certainly, I'm not perfect, but my goal is to be Christ-like. And you and I spoke earlier, you know, when Christ walked this earth, he was more upset at the religious people. He put them in their place. He was compassionate to those that didn't have their faith and were searching. And that's where my compassion is, really, is with those families that don't have faith. And that hopefully they can see in me that I'm not judging them. You know, I've had people come in that have volunteered for me and have seen parents where they've had artificial nails, or they know they smoke, or they've seen them drinking, or whatever the situation. And they've said things to me like, why are you giving them a scholarship because they do da 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 da? And my comment back to them is, why not? You know, if these parents need those artificial nails to make themselves feel better, then good. They'll be a better parent. If they need that cigarette at that time, I'm not condoning smoking or drinking, but I'm saying that if that's what they need at that point in time, then love them where they're at. And once they get through that situation, then we'll go from there.
Right.
But let's not judge people. That's what Christians sometimes are noted to do, is, you know, judgment. Let's leave that up to God, and let's love them. We don't have to accept their sin.
Right.
But we can love them where they're at,
Right.
which is what I believe a Christian is.
Well, and you referred a few minutes ago to my journey. Oh my gosh, 13 years. Like, I am in a completely different place.
Yes, you are.
Than I was then. And it's been baby steps for me, you know, and I think that's probably how it is for most people who are
Sure.
seeking, is that, you know, you just do the best you can on that day, and you don't even realize, you know, like, but just how we view things ourselves too. So let's say it's, a parent who drinks on the weekends. Okay. So they're just thinking that's normal because in their history, in who their friends are, who they spend their time with, their coworkers, what they see on social media, all those things, they're just thinking this is normal.
Right.
It's not something that they're necessarily aware that they, could make a sacrifice on, and so to judge somebody, it's like they'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm just normal, or whatever.
Right.
But there's just never a place where we can live a perfect life. Like you just said, you've been walking this journey a long time and you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right?
Right.
So I love your perspective. I love what you're doing. I love that you want to keep doing it for many more years because I know those children really do need you. And as a parent of 2 former BACE students, I just appreciate and love you so much. Yeah. So this is my first time crying on camera.
Well, it's not mine.
But anyway, what about in the fall? Do you have any spots open still?
Yes, we do. Again, like I said, God just continues to bless our program, and we do have openings in the fall, and we would love to love your children and teach them about God, certainly, and we're excited to bring more people in.
So how would they get in contact with you?
Well, we're online. They can look under BACE, B-A-C-E, camp.org, and we have the registration form. You can also see information about our program. If you're in need of scholarship, then just let me know. We don't do a lot of asking questions, and we just know and have faith that you're going to tell us the truth, and God's going to come through. And always will. So we'd love to have you. We do take donations. So if you would like to, if you feel led to donate to our program, we would appreciate that also. And we're just excited to reach out to the community.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you coming here today, and I'm glad that we had the opportunity to share what you're doing and how you're helping local families. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gayle.
Keep walking that walk.
I will. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
PeoriaLife.com